Hello guys, welcome to today's video. Now a couple of weeks ago I put a poll up on my Instagram asking whether you guys would like to see some medieval content on the channel, which I believe pretty much all of you said yes. Now if you want to be a part of some of these polls, I'll leave a link to my Instagram down below. I do some YouTube polls, but they don't get as good of a response as the Instagram ones. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's begin. So this particular video is actually a review on this helmet. It's not an overview of the medieval Great Helm, which perhaps I'll do later on. This helmet was from a company called Queen Armour off of Amazon. Now, I actually broke my own rule and ordered off of Amazon. Usually I always say avoid Amazon, avoid eBay, go to direct sort of medieval or reenactment shops. I actually needed this for a thing I was doing that was in a timely manner, so I bit the bullet and risked buying from Amazon, and I think in this case it actually did pay off. It's overall quite a nice helmet. So this helmet will set you back 155 Canadian dollars, which is at a rough guess probably about 135 US, and probably about 120 pounds-ish. Now it actually does fit my head very well, and I'll get some close-ups and stuff as well after this. But it does have a chin strap, which I don't know whether that's historically accurate or not. I'm not an expert in medieval stuff. I'm sort of breaking the ice, getting in there. Greece is still definitely my comfortable zone. Now you may also see I am holding a longsword. This is actually Aragorn's sword from the Lord of the Rings series, but it's a perfectly sort of reasonable longsword. It's fancy, but if you guys actually want to see a video on this, as I am quite a big Lord of the Rings fan, do let me know. But I'm just sort of using this as an example right now, for those of you that are wondering anyway. Now, this helmet has an internal fitting system which I'm not a massive fan of, so I've actually loosened that off as far as I can, and wear an padded arming doublet or arming cap underneath this. And as I said, it does have a chin strap. I don't know whether that is historically accurate, but it does help to keep the helmet on. I don't do it that tight. It's just so that if it, for whatever reason, tries to fall off my head, it doesn't. Now, one thing that I would say very different from my Greek helmets is that with the breaths or the breathing holes, I can actually see a lot of stuff, which I do have another great helmet which is not very good quality. It's one of the Sugarloaf or conical ones, and you really can't see at all. With this helmet, I can see, you have a blank spot here, but that's sort of a natural blind spot that your brain fills in anyway. So where these breaths are, I have slight black areas, but I can actually see pretty much everything that's down there, and if not, I can see through the bottom of the helmet. It is quite a comfortable helmet to wear. As I said, it does hold to your head shape quite well. You can move your head, and it stays pretty straight. You don't want a helmet to not move, because if you get struck with a sword, you want it to give a certain amount. Now that brings me on to, this is a flat top Great Helm. Really quite similar to one of these ones, which is a period artwork. This, I don't know the exact dates, but it's around the 12th or 13th century, I would say. This would have been used in some of the Crusades and Knights, and this particular one is the flat-topped. Now, this is what I find quite interesting about these helmets. These are personally some of my favourite helmets, along with the Corinthian helmet and the pig-faced bassinet. Really love these great helms. There's just something so characteristic about them that I personally really like. And it sort of seems to be a couple 100-year experiment that they went to the flat top, which obviously has some drawbacks, but it also does have some strengths, which perhaps we'll get into later. But conical helmets have been existing since like the ancient times. Look at the ancient Greek Pylos helmet. Even the dome of the Corinthian helmet it's conical. And then you look at Norman helmets, conical shape. But it seems to be that around the 12th century, they decided to try this flat top design, which is a little bit unusual, as what a conical helmet does. So here's an example of a conical great helmet, and this is a Greek sword here, but essentially what a conical helmet does is when it gets struck, the blade slides down, whereas with a flat top, it goes and just hits the top. Now this does have a strength of this very strong rim, which for any blade strike that comes here, is going to hit the strongest part of the helmet. And I think one thing that's important when we look at these is that most knights were mounted soldiers. I mean that if you're above someone, most strikes, especially from axes, which were used quite commonly during the Crusades, as far as I understand, would be hitting this peak, which is the strongest part of the helmet. But if a sword blade or an axe blade or even a bat or something hits the top of the helmet, then the force of the impact goes sort of straight into your head and actually to your neck and down your spine, which is a very uncomfortable feeling. Alright, so now onto the helmet itself. I'll take it off here so that you can see a little bit better and probably hear me a little bit better. Now, its strap system is one of these, very simple, just like a belt that pulls out. You can take it off. I believe it's 18 gauge steel, possibly 19 gauge. Not entirely sure there. I'm sure I can check on the website and put it up here. It came oiled, which I personally like to keep my helmets partly oiled just so I don't have to worry about rust as much. Something I don't really have to worry about with my bronze and brass Greek armour. But be warned, if you have cats or dogs or any sort of hairy creature, you'll get a lot of hair over it, which you can just dust off with a rag, but it is partly frustrating, I suppose. Now here I'll just give you some close-ups of the helm. Now vision-wise, it's actually a lot better than I thought. I can see a lot better in this than I can my Greek helmets. It does have this sort of cross pendant, I guess. I don't really know what you'd call it. Design, crossguard, almost crossguard of the eyes. I don't know what you actually call it. Now this particular helmet to me sort of looks like a pot helmet's transition to a great helm. What the early pot helmets were anyway was essentially just this band. If any of you have watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, what King Arthur wears is a pot helmet. As I said, it is a flat top. It's not completely flat, it is slightly domed. And my only complaint really that I have about this helmet is where you can see this design, sort of pleated design going around. It's on the back. There must have been some sort of calculation error and there's sort of a half bump as opposed to where it should join completely. But that really, for whatever reason, doesn't bother me that much. On the inside, I have stuffed an arming cap in there, but it's just sort of one of those, take this out for you, it's just one of those sort of tighten round your head things. I just like being able to put my arming cap in there. I find it just more comfortable. Now some people do ask me whether I can actually put the camera inside these helmets so that you can see. I can do that. It doesn't give you the same perspective as what a human eye or just what your eyes would see, because it doesn't focus the same way that a human eye does, but you actually get good, like 90-degree angles really, and the breaths. But as I said, you can't really see as you would as a human wearing this. So it does resemble some period-styled designs of a less sort of bucketed, and it actually has some more shapes. As I said, that does remind me a little bit more of a transition between a pot and a sort of full great helm. Perhaps a visored pot helm when they've added the back to it. You can see where it's overlaid, but I think they've done quite a good job with that actually. There is some oil that's stuck in it that's decently hard to clean off. I have been able to wear this for quite a long period of time. Obviously your breathing is more restricted, and that is one thing I would come to, is actually there must have been some sort of oil on the inside that's quite difficult to clean off, because when I wear this for a long period of time, sort of my nose blocks. So you might want to clean the inside a little bit more than I did there. I will leave a link in the description where you can buy this helmet off of Amazon CA and .com. I would recommend this helmet actually. I was very pleasantly surprised when it arrived from Amazon. Usually I really don't recommend Amazon for helmets. I was just very desperate and needed this in a very short period of time and knew I could sort of trust in that delivery. But yeah, I'm overall very pleased with this helmet. I think it's quite historically accurate. It's not the best quality helmet, but for 155 Canadian dollars, I don't think you could really complain about the quality of this. It feels very sturdy. You know, the rivets don't crack if you push or pull anywhere. It's very good. I'll put it on one more time for you just so you can sort of see the putting on process. It's very simple. So you just simply put it on basically just like any other helmet. And then it's just a belt buckle. Now this can be quite difficult to do by yourself if you just can't find a little hole for the thing to go through, which I think I just did. Sometimes I seem to get this first try and sometimes it seems to, there we go, take a while, and then it just goes through this little loop. Pulls, now again I have it quite loose so I can fit fingers in so that my mouth can move, I can yell and it doesn't like cut off my throat. Anyway, I would recommend this helmet. I think it's quite nice. If you guys would also like to see sort of a historical rundown of great helms, as opposed to more of a review on this particular great helm, do let me know. I think I'm going to do it anyway. I want to branch out into the medieval and sort of early medieval, so Viking era and Crusader era and 15th century era as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you wouldn't mind, maybe check out the video that's coming up in just 1 second. Thank you so much, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video.